Hi, beautiful souls. So the last week, I feel we had a very calming energy. I think it was because we knew that energetically we were going to move into a lot more shifts that are happening from the one I'm going to chat to today. And then we have quite a few happening in the week coming up along with the new moon. So this video specifically, we're going to chat about Mars going into Gemini and why this is actually quite a big deal, or it is an energy to really chat about. Typically, Mars moves through one sign 6 weeks, 2 months max. So this time around, Mars is in Gemini for 7 months. So it's a really long time for personal planets such as Mars to be in a sign. And so if we just look at the key dates of the Mars thing, we have it moves into Gemini either yesterday or today, depending where you are in the world. So that's 21st of August. And then it stays there until the 30th of October. It's still in Gemini, but then it starts to retrograde in Gemini. So it gets there and it stations retrograde at about 25 degrees. And then it goes all the way back to 8 degrees on the 12th of January, 2023. So that's a long period that it's in that retrograde period. And the period it's reviewing is pretty much from the 4th of September. So we almost have that shadow period. And then it comes out on the 12th of January and goes back across those same degrees and leaves Gemini only on the 26th of March. So as you can see, that's quite a long period, 21st of August all the way to the 26th of March in the sign of Gemini. And so if we really unpack what Gemini is and what Mars is and how we can really utilize this energy and also be aware of what the challenges will be in amongst the fact that it's also doing the retrograde phase. So we're looking, so Mars is our planet of vitality, it's our assertion, it's our drive, it really is how we get things done. And so everywhere in our chart we have our own personal Mars, and that flavors how we assert ourselves, how we use our vitality and that sort of thing. So but this time around we have Mars in the sign of Gemini. So really, if we think of Gemini, Gemini is an air sign, it's the twins, it's about social, it's very much intellect. And often the words that I have with this is it's my need to communicate and learn with and from others. So very much like the twins, if you think about it, but also Gemini rules the polarity of it. And so the shadow side of Gemini is that it can be quite scattered. It's like Geminis are interested in every little thing. They're very, very smart. There's a lot of intellect going on. So a lot is going on in the head here, but just needing to know information. And very much Gemini moves social media. So you can just see that constant need for information, but not a long-term thing. It's very much the short pieces of information. It's also very much indecisive. A Gemini energy can be indecisive. It can be quite restless. It's a very like people with a lot of Gemini in their charts, and that can be quite fidgety, talk a lot, like they can talk and talk and talk and talk, and not necessarily like annoying stuff. It's just they have so much knowledge and so much energy, and it comes out. So it's very much this heightened energy, and also quite gossipy and over intellectual. So you can see where that plays in the social media space. The really positive traits of Gemini is that they are the curious. So if you're really interested, they're really curious and trying to find out every little detail and that sort of thing. Their general knowledge is normally really superb because they have this sort of interest. Very good at communication, fast, witty, those sort of things. Very much sociable, love to be around friends in the groups, that sort of thing. But they can be quite adaptable because it's a mutable sign, flexible. So you have these really beautiful traits and that sort of thing. And how we then marry this back into our Mars energy is Mars energy, because it's our drive, it can feel that we could feel quite scattered. We could feel like we're not quite sure where we should be channeling our energy. So really, if we're feeling into that scatteredness, but for me, where it really could come in and really beneficial is it can allow you to have a sense of curiosity. Really, like, are there multiple little world of interests? And this Mars vitality is if you channel it, you can sort of learn a little bit about everything and then decide this is where I'm going to go, and then channel that, because Mars successfully, the energy really channeled successfully from Mars is where you accomplish. It's how you achieve. It's that sort of drive to get things done. The shadow side of this is you could feel very like scattered, unable to make decisions, unable to go for your goals. So this push-pull feeling could come in. And the Mars energy also has these emotions of anger, fury, that sort of like rage comes from a Mars thing. So if you're feeling very like you're not getting anywhere and you're unbalanced and everything just feels like, oh my God, there can be this sense of deep anger and rage that comes through. So it's just being aware of these sort of things. And another sort of thing that I would really be aware of is the Gemini rules our central nervous system. It's our hands, our arms, our legs and shoulders. And Mars is our muscular activity. And so with Mars being in this space for such a long time and such a mental space, the air of intellect and that, it really, really is going to be like, how do we come back into making sure that we calm the central nervous system? You know, the intake of so much information constantly, it bombards the central nervous system, makes you feel stressed, makes you feel overwhelmed and that sort of thing. So this is very much a big thing of like, how can you be in this space and still regulate self? You know, will be one of the learnings. Another real thing for me is because Gemini rules communication, and I'll chat about some of the other key players that are going to be playing along with Mars in this space, is it's going to be how do we really think of how we communicate, the vitality of how we, you know, our words and that sort of thing from Gemini, using that energy. How do we assert ourselves? Are we doing it in a place from woundedness? Are we using words to, in anger and hurting, lashing out type thing? Or do we take time to come back to review what we say before we just speak? So, you know, it really is a beautiful time of allowing us to reframe things, reinvestigate, especially because Mars is retrograding. So what a retrograde means is, it just, for us, it looks as if from the position of Earth, it looks like the planet is going backwards. But really the planet is just slowing down. And so when we talk about it going into a retrograde season, it's an opportunity for us to be like, oh, this is what we've covered. So if you know that from the 4th of September, of like having this awareness of Mars is going to come back over these things. So paying attention to what happens over that period from 4th of September to, let me make sure, 30th of October, you know, what comes up? I mean, an excellent thing to do would actually be to have a journal. It'd almost be like my Mars journal. What ideas pop up? What interests come up? What conversations come up? How do you respond to those conversations? How do you feel? Where do you feel that you're not asserting yourself? And almost have that awareness in this first period. And then the review period will come, where we're going in that retrograde phase from the 30th of October to the 12th of January. And in that period, it's almost then sinking into self. Obviously, naturally, there's a lot of other things happening. It's not as if we're just in this in isolation. And when we get to those months, you'll see, I mean, we have eclipses and all of that, but it's really our vitality will be coming inward. You know, what goals do we want? It'll be an excellent time to being like, well, I have all these interests, all these things, all these ideas and that sort of thing. But what actually speaks to my soul? What really feels aligned to me? And what is actually just because that's what it looks like we should do from society? That's what it feels like everyone else is doing. You know, those sort of questions can come up and you can really delve deeper into that, especially when you see the beautiful aspects we have. And then you'll come from the 12th of January and you're going to come over these signs again till the end of March. And almost then, you know, Mars takes a bit of a while to then, any planet when they come out of a retrograde season, is really implement. So you're still having this wisdom, you know, you've experienced it, observed it, you've then reviewed and allowed yourself to sink in, come inward, allow your soul to speak. And now you're coming out of that period, and then you can be like, okay, yeah, actually that's still sticking. That's really cool. And that's really what I want to do. And oh, you know, I've actually, over this period, I'm actually going to speak my truth, but I'm realizing I don't have to speak it in a sense that it hurts people. I can own my power and my vitality without having to steep into anger. Or maybe it's a case of you actually learn to feel your anger and allowed yourself to process the anger in a really healthy way. We should never be suppressing any emotion, and no emotions are good or bad or anything. It's just how we feel and how we allow them to move through our bodies, and then what we do. So it really, this period of really cool intellect space, great ideas coming through. How are we looking after our nervous system? Are we really stressed? Are we in this constant state of fight or flight? Or have we actually learned how to regulate? Deep breathing, fantastic. Or maybe it's not. Maybe for you, going and running is a perfect thing, or dancing and getting it all out, or maybe going and hitting the gym. What do you do to help your body process all of this? There's also a key thing for me that will come out from this period. And so the last little bit, because I know it's a lot of information, that I really want to just bring awareness of how we're being supported by the planet aspects that we'll have. And the 3 ones, I mean, he does touch a few of the others, but Mars touches Chiron, Saturn, and Neptune. Like they go past each other, then during the retrograde, they talk to each other again, and then back. So when we just look at those 3, Chiron is our inner wound. Chiron represents where we have a wound, and collectively Chiron is in Aries, the home of Mars. And Aries is our identity. So I feel like this wound is like, how are we showing up for ourselves? How do I be me and authentically be that? And where am I acting from a place that isn't aligned, and potentially from a wounding, so really, how am I healing this as part of my identity? And remember, the wound isn't something that you just like, oh, we quickly fix that, it's done. The Chiron is that, how do we alchemize this wound into our greatest gift? How do we turn this pain into wisdom? And not meaning that you just bypass healing. That's not it. It's how have you gone into that? How have you recognized where it was, what was your responsibility, what's not, and then really allowing yourself to heal that so that it's wisdom. And that's a journey. It's not an overnight thing. It's a journey, and there's always deeper layers that come out. So we have Chiron, we have Saturn, as you know, one of my favorites, because Saturn's my chart ruler. And Saturn is our great teacher. And the greatest thing about Saturn, and also with this period of review, is because it comes in and it's like, where are we creating the foundation? So we're talking about our goals, our drive, what we want to accomplish, what we want to achieve. And Saturn's going to come in and be like, okay, cool. How are we going to do it? Where's the structure we need, the discipline we need? How are we channeling this energy? How are we using this energy correctly? Those sort of questions come from the beautiful Saturn. And then we have Neptune playing a role. And Neptune, Neptune is actually about the illusions, but how I wish to see this one is also, Neptune is the greater collective consciousness. This beautiful wisdom of the we, that we are all actually connected. We're all somehow divinely from the same source, God, however you wish to call that, universe. And so Neptune in this, for me, comes in and asks, are you acting out of this, or do you want to do this because you're separate, the illusion from separation? Or is this as a recognition of how you contribute back to the greater collective? And this can be in any sense, like how you communicate with your loved ones, your friends, and that. Are you creating unity and harmony through your actions? So Neptune brings in that. How are you making your dreams a really beautiful? And that's not to say your dreams have to be just so, I think the word's altruistic, where it's like about everyone else. No, but there is a sense of, we need to take into account how our actions affect the world, the globe, Mother Gaia, each other, the ripple effects of that. And so coming in, when we're healing self, when we're following a path that is so aligned with our soul essence, then that is in harmony, because it is for the greater good. Because if everyone wasn't aligned with that, then we know that we're collectively healing, we're collectively shifting to the next level. And so these beautiful 3 allows this opportunity of us to really heal and step into our greatness. But it will feel, there's a really beautiful outcome from this. But I must say, it probably will feel, for some of us, depending on our chart placements, this really I find that the word frustrating maybe pops up, like, we're like, oh, I just want to go, 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 especially because, we'll be coming out of a few of the retrograde seasons. You're like, okay, thank goodness, let's go. And then your vitality is going to feel like you still have to remain inward. And that's not to mean that you can't do things. That's definitely not at all. You can definitely do things. It's just being aware of the energy, being aware. And I find that when we flow with these seasons, we're really allowing ourselves to come back home to self. We're not putting all this pressure to do when actually it's really a time to be, and always a time to actually be and nourishing and all of that. So that, my beautiful souls, is an overview of Mars in Gemini. I will pop the dates and those sort of things in the text below, but really allowing this awareness of your vitality and really look after your central nervous system. Find a way to regulate yourself, find a way to make sure that you're not in a constant state of fight or flight. And allow yourself. There's days where you feel like you're just all over the place. Then allow yourself to be in that all over the place. Allow yourself to be curious. That would be it. That will be my parting word. Allow yourself to be curious about what's coming up. Allow yourself to be curious about how you communicate, and then allow yourself to reframe, reintegrate, and then go forward. And allow this period, it's a long period, 7 months, but it's also short. Time keeps moving very quickly. So with that being said, my beautiful souls, I love you so much, and I will see you soon.